Hey YouTube, happy Sunday. Yeah, so I put a wee thing on this community tab thing, which I've never really used before. I've never really used it in anyone else's channel either. I'm asking if anyone wanted me to talk about anything, and I've got a couple of replies. It's like, yay, rocking. One of them from That Scottish Dude, who I believe is a guy that lives in Kilsyth. That might be quite offensive if it's not him. Shows your full BC Rich collection. So got the digging through and got all the BC Riches I've got. So 1, 2, 3. I don't have a lot of BC Riches. I've had quite a few coming through my hands, but BC Riches are a funny thing. There's a huge difference in the qualities of them. I want a warlock. I've had a couple of warlocks, maybe 3, 4, 5, something like that. The bronze series ones are kind of all right. They're the sort of cheapest one. They're all right, but they're not fantastic. I've had a body art one as well. It was all right as well. It had a really cool design on the front. I just needed money at the time to keep it. I've kind of not. That was a warlock. So I'm still after a warlock. But there's a huge difference between anything that's I've played that's come out since the NJ series, which were the first not actually proper, handmade American BC Riches. There's as the first import line. This one I think is about 1983 or something like that was when this happened. So what happened was BC Rich were kind of rough history of BC Rich. They were kind of, their main thing was they had lots of switches on them and stuff, and they were really the first sort of proper through neck guitars, and they had crazy shapes. This one is a wave, which I'd never seen before until I saw it when I went to buy it. I was actually buying a pickup, a DiMarzio Super Distortion off a guy in Stirling, and I saw this sitting in the corner, and it was just like, as soon as you see it, you go, you can tell it's a proper BC Rich, not a copy. Not like a design like a BC Rich. I should have brought my Aria Urchin down. Well, it's sort of BC Rich looking as well, but they really do have a look, and you can kind of tell a real one, rather than you get your sort of stag ones, and other companies have tried to make sort of spiky looking shapes. There's something about the aesthetics of BC Rich that they just look like a right one, something maybe balance or something, or like not symmetricalness, because obviously it's not symmetrical, but I really do like the look of them. I think if you don't like the look of them, then you've got no chance. But I like the look of these. Plus, they're really good quality. The Japanese ones, if you could find the Japanese ones, which isn't that easy. Yeah. So the story about them was apparently in the 70s. I think they started off. They were all handmade or they're all American, even though I think actually they might have all been Mexican. Like they were made south of the border but sold as American. And I think after that, when they actually got into trouble for that, they moved all the Mexicans up. The same folk were building them in America, but it was the same folk that were building them when they were in Mexico. And they went to a NAMM show in about 1980, something like that. This is all kind of just from memory from looking these up. And there was people going, "Oh, your new import line's fantastic, really high quality and stuff." And the guys from BC Rich were like, "What import line? You don't have one." And it wasn't actually BC Riches, it was Arias, I think, although I have seen Fernandez as well. So Aria were making a Mockingbird copy, and it was really good. So then, like the following year or the year after, they decided to do the same. So these are built by, in NGA, originally stands for Nagoya, Japan. So that's where this one comes from. Nagoya isn't a factory, it's like a region where Matsumoku and pretty much all the guitar factories we know of and love from Japan are kind of in this Nagoya peninsula or whatever it is, part of Japan. And they're not, I don't think they were made in the same factory, because this one apparently has a Tokai serial number. So it's like it's like stamped on it. I think that's a Tokai serial number. So I think this is a Tokai being through neck. It's a stunning guitar. It really is. It's been butchered over the years, unfortunately. The pickups that are in this aren't original to this guitar. These are later on. I'd imagine Goto copies they say BC Rich in the middle, and they kind of look like DiMarzio Super Distortion, just DiMarzio Super Distortion copies. they weren't in this guitar when I got it. I can't actually remember what was in it. I can't remember what was in it when I got it. Did it have? It might not even have had pickups in it. Did it have P90s in it? I can't remember. Anyway, and the bridge was at some point this guitar had a caller in it, but the caller had been filled in and it had like a stop tailpiece on it, and there was a sort of horrible bit behind it. And then eventually I got this, which is a Washburn Wonder Bar, which I should probably be doing a video on. Look at the just the engineering aspect of a Washburn Wonder Bar, but my reason for that was it kind of covered up the caller hole. That's why callers, one of the reasons I'm not that keen on callers, it's like once you've got one of them in it, you have to put on another caller, and it costs a couple £100 to get even a second-hand one to fit. So if you buy a guitar that had a caller on it, it's very difficult to fill in the hole. You fill in the hole and paint the whole guitar, but you know what I mean. So yes. So this is a Wave, which is not one of the more popular ones, I don't think, because it's not one you see very often. There is a current, there's some guy with his name something like Eisenhower, who's got a current or a in the last 10 years version of the Wave, but it's got like barbs on the edge here. It's got a couple of, I think maybe one here and one here, making it a little bit pointier. But this is the NJ one. I think the NJ ones are a little bit sort of, they took the design and kind of did their own thing a little bit. The bitch, sort of, which is now they don't call it the bitch anymore, because apparently there was whole states of America that refused to stock that, and it's just called the B model. Fair enough. Yeah, so this one had a big metal plate on it, and if you look up this, I did a video of this before, and it's like, I fell out with one of my pals over it because the bastard painted it, even though he specifically knew I did not want it painted. So this had like a metal plate on it that was covering up all sort of stuff, and all the extra switches and stuff were there because there was already holes drilled in the guitar. I think this one, maybe actually, it's actually got 2 output jacks. That's an output jack, and I put one in the front because I prefer it on the front, and I was just trying to fill up holes. So we've got a volume control, a 3-way selector switch, a tone control, and a coil split for each pickup. This is a Veritone, which not sure it's really what. So single coil. This guitar's been sitting for a while, and it kind of needs a bit more setting up. It doesn't seem to be going into tune. The tuner says it's in tune, but I'm not trusting it. Maybe sometimes you just don't feel like whatever you do doesn't seem to sound good. Maybe the strings are just too old. So a Veritone's kind of just a notch. You get different sort of tone controls, varying degrees of muffledness. So kind of don't use it, just use it to fill up the hole. Yeah, so as I said, NJ series lasted a couple of years only. I think maybe 1983, 1984, they always seem to be. At the start, some of them actually said BC Rico instead of BC Rich, and some of them didn't have NJ series on them, but that's what they are. If they kind of look like this, the real BC Riches have just got this R on the top. And then they started getting cheaper, and I've had a slightly later BC Rich. It was a blue Warlock, and it was rubbish. It really was. It was nothing. It looked amazing, but it was nothing in the league of this at all. Yeah, so if I move on from that, rather than just making it, and take the strap off, or make it entirely about this guitar, I'll swap it with the BH. Oh, BICH, to rhyme with bitch, as opposed to being, there's no T in it. This is a funky colour, which I don't know if it's really, it doesn't really show up in photos, but it really is the most violent pink ever. Really good. I got this off a guy in Stirling in bits. I don't think he really knew what it was. It's quite significantly louder. This one has, I got it, it was just the neck and the body. The guy had a Floyd Rose on it. It had EMG active pickups in it, but he kept them. The tuners, I'm not 100% sure whether they were on it or not, or I put them on. The pickups are, this is a DiMarzio a modern DiMarzio. I can't remember what model. I don't know what model it is, but it says so on the back. It was written. It's in the brass plate on the back, and this is a Seymour Duncan, a fancy Seymour Duncan, something distortion, and there's ones, if you look them up, it's signed by someone called something Seth or Seth something, so it's an expensive one. My pal bought that when he was in America in about 1998 when I was in my first band. He bought a pair of them, and one of them didn't work, so it was only the neck one that worked, and I managed to accumulate it at some point, swapped it for something, can't remember. A couple of bottles of Bucky probably. Yeah, so this one is 83, but this one's got an R83 serial number on that silver sticker, which you can't see there. So, and it's a bolt-on neck with a very small neck plate. These ones have got made in Japan on it. So this one, I don't think this is the same factory that made the Wave. It's a pretty rocking guitar though. I love that headstock shape. You get bitches with different headstock shapes. I don't know what you call that. A sort of evil Fendery type vibe it's got going. So you can actually see it there, like that shape. As you say again, NJ series. I need to. It was annoying me that truss rod cover which I put on, which is wood, and it looks rubbish in this guitar. I need to. I've got piles of truss rod covers. I just haven't bothered with arse to do it. I have actually used this guitar in the band, my band I'm in, Cranking House, and they've loved it. So a normal bitch is slightly. This is sometimes called a skinny bitch. It's a bit more than a normal one, and the reason for this mad cutout bit here is apparently I think it was originally designed as a 10-string guitar, so you had kind of like so you can see it there, sort of like this. So it's got the thin strings on this 8-string bass tuned from the bottom. It had 4 strings that came in from there, and it doubled up your E, A, D and G strings. No, it didn't. It doubled up the D, G, B and E strings, which I always thought was a bit kind of strange, but maybe I think it's the idea is if you're playing sort of power chords, you've still got, without the 12-string effect. And it's got a coil split in this one as well. Not that it really needed a coil split. I can't really see you be doing. Well, obviously the weirdo in me likes the idea of going up and playing jingly jangly on a guitar this shape, obviously designed to melt faces. A rat pedal on. I think I do need to have a look at what I've done in the wiring in the Wave. This seems to be a hell of a lot louder. It does have DiMarzio expensive pickups in it. Also, it didn't have the bridge on it, so this is actually from my pal Dava, who helps me with my channel. I kind of run everything past them, just to make sure that I don't do anything completely stupid. So, just for that. And I can't remember what I swapped this for. It's a Wilkinson Bridge, which I quite liked. And you can see it's still got the holes from where the posts were for the Floyd Rose, and there's a wee bit of a gap there, but hey, it was for me anyway, so not bothered with it. 24 frets as well, most of the BC Riches. We're going to the last BC Rich. It's my Mockingbird, which I got for fixing my pal's bathroom. And as you can see, somebody painted this one a bit crazy. That was me. So this one, I did a video for this not that long ago, and someone in the first comment was a guy who seemed to have nailed down exactly what it is. I can't remember what it was. I think it is. I think it was it's a JE series, a Japanese edition. So this has like what the original American ones. It's just got an R on the headstock, and it's a Mockingbird. It was just black when I got it, but it was all scratched because it had stickers on it and someone had taken them off. I saw this in Cash Converters in Glasgow, and I told my pal about it, and then next time I went to my pal's house it was sitting thingy, and it was like really cheap. I think it was £100 in Cash Converter or something like that. But the pickups didn't work, or there was something very wrong with the electrics, so I sorted them. This is early on, I don't actually know what it was I did, but then they worked, and I managed to find a matching pickup. These are the same pickups that I put in the Wave. You know, they say BC Rich in the kind of in the middle. So the modern one, it's like they've got the hex poles, so they look like DiMarzio's. This is a quad bridge, which is probably what the Wave had. So it's a kind of wraparound, but it's got adjustment saddles on it. So I put the third one in, put the metal things on it. I had a go at painting it. I tried to do, I seem to remember it being a sort of yellow to green sunburst, and it didn't work. And I drilled holes, and I had 7 switches in this at one point, so each of the 3 pickups had its own volume control. So it was like 1, 2, 3 volume controls, a master tone. Each of the pickups had an on, off, and out of phase switch, and another 3-way switch that was single coil, parallel wired, and series wired. And it always really annoyed me. I didn't put them in straight, so they were a bit squint. But the thing with that is, because there was so many options, that was where I learned that when I'm putting lots of switches in guitars, I generally do it in bucky casters and then sell them or something like that as a sort of experimenty thing. Because with that many switches and that many combinations, which was like thousands, I spent more time flipping switches than I did actually playing the thing. So what we're wired up with just now is just a volume, a 3-way switch between these two. This is just a volume control for the middle pickup. So it just comes on whatever you're doing, and then a master tone, keeping it simple. And I filled in the holes of it, held it up to the right light. The light right, you can see where I put a metal plate in the back and then just filled over it. And then the sort of cow zebra idea was partly just to hide the bad bit. It also looks a bit funky. So this again is a good quality one. I think it's later on, maybe 90s or something like that, but maybe a Japanese only market thing as opposed to being like a modern BC Rich. I have tried, I remember doing a video, I had a shot of a Mockingbird probably 10 years ago now in Guitar in Town, and it was reduced from something like £1,000 to £700, and it was the slashy looking one, you know, through neck. This one's not, it's a bolt on neck. It was through neck. It had all the switches. Quite often they've got they've just got the 2 pickups, but they've got a coil split for each one, a phase, and some sort of preamp thing, and possibly even a varitone. And the guitar looked amazing, and honestly it was a quarter as good as this one, and it was like £700 in a sale. I then actually managed to get one a year after that. I got one at the big chunk out it that I got for buttons, and I was thinking, well, you know, I know that guitar was £700 and I was buying it for £150 or something like that, and really it was the same as that one. It was just crap. No, well, not crap, it just, because I was spoilt with this one, which is really good, it kind of made a difference. This is going to be a really long video, mind you. It's just a talky one. So there's my BC Rich collection. Not much of them. BC Rich kind of shot themselves in the foot after this, because these were obviously really good and selling really well. Or talking more about the NJ series, this is a kind of a speciality one. A lot of the platinum and all the ones, they just generally, I think, just got cheaper and cheaper, or maybe not cheaper price wise, but cheaper built, until eventually I think they closed like a couple of years ago, and they just, you know, all the guitars, we were selling maybe 10 guitars at like £150 for every one that they sold at £300, and then for, you know, then for maybe 100 of them you'd maybe sell 1, 5, 6, you know, they're just, they basically just kept getting cheaper and cheaper, milking the brands, until now most of the ones you get are kind of not so good. As I said, the bronze one was alright, because it was only like £100 guitar or £150 guitar, and it was like kind of fine, you don't mind. That's when I was really shocked when I was trying the ones at like £300 and £400, and they really were just the same as the bronze one, apart from in a nicer paint, you know, nicer paint and more expensive pickups. Actually, the £700, I want to call it an ST or an AT, had pickups called Rockfield Mafias. I liked them; they were really good. So I'm kind of, if you ever see them kind of on eBay, because somebody's, you know, bought a BC Rich with the Rockfield Mafias and going, oh, I need Seymour Duncans, and then they sell off the Rockfield Mafias quite cheap. They are good pickups. I would rate them more than I would the rest of the guitar. I had a Floyd Rose on it as well, which didn't help things. that skull over landed on the delay pedal. Yeah, so that was what I'm thinking there about. Even the more expensive looking one, like that ST with its neck through and all that, and this is just a bolt on, just the quality of the woods. I mean, there's not much in it, it's quite a basic model. Obviously I put a third pickup in. And this is also kind of the last time I put 3 humbuckers on a guitar, because there's really not much point, really. I mean, the way I've got it wired in just now is not too bad. I mean, this is the bridge pickup on its own. Then you can bring in the middle pickup. It does kind of fatten it out a bit. Not a huge, not really anything to be. It's more for a look, and with the metal surrounds, I thought it basically it's a show-off guitar, isn't it? But it's a really nice quality, and again 24 frets. Even though getting to the 24th fret's not too bad. It's not the comfiest of shape, a Mockingbird. I mean, it's very pretty, but it's kind of like one of those designs that's been designed to look pretty more than being functional. I find that this bit here, see, it's like a sort of pointy bit. It kind of sticks into you a bit. Not too bad, but it does a bit. And also I had to move the strap button, which was meant to be here. I moved it to there, so it actually hangs on a strap. Makes a big difference. Yeah, so that was there you go. BC Riches, as far as I'm aware. There maybe are other good ones. I think now actually people are complaining. I'm on a BC Rich Junkies Facebook page. I don't like that name, but I mean, it's got what I quite liked about that was it doesn't really have the snobbery that you get on an awful lot of other Facebook pages, because folk tend to have, there's an awful lot of people that have like 20 BC Riches. You know, they just got all of them, and it's like people buy the ones just because it's a silly colour. So they've got like the cheaper ones and then they might have like a real one, because real ones are like thousands of pounds. When I say real one, I mean like an American original one. It's a much more classy looking before they started going neon colours. What was it? I used to say, there used to be a guitar, a BC Rich box in my bathroom in the last house. Built to rock, shaped to shock, which is a good saying, which is they should still use, but they don't. So last year, the year before, they get bought over by new people, and all the people on the Junkies page are like, oh, let's have the good quality ones again. We want neck through and fancy stuff rather than just being the sort of cheapy basic models. So that's what they did. They brought out all these amazing looking thingies, and they're like 1,500 quid or £1,000 or something like that, and they're made in China. And everyone's now complaining, going, I'm not paying £1,000 for a Chinese guitar. And it's like, so they're kind of not. It's not really worked very well for them. But you're not going to get like a neck through, super fancy looking American guitar for £1,000. It's just not really going to happen. Not like on a short run. I mean, even Gibson can't do that. Even if you look at any Gibson under £1,000, it's kind of like they don't paint it. It's like, oh, we'll call it the worn look, and in other words, so we don't have to finish it. And even then, the tribute ones, which I think were about 500-600 quid. This is going back a couple of years. They needed fretwork and stuff. They just hadn't really been finished. So to make like a good quality one, you have to pay for it, unless you can find an original NJ series or whatever this one is, which I'm kind of think is sort of like an NJ, sort of. Yeah. So the other person who does this happened to me when I used to read Lord of the Rings. You'd sit there and it's like, see, I can say them now, but like Saruman and Sauron and stuff like that, I can read the name and it's totally fine. I'm fine with it, but when I actually try and say it out loud, you go, ooh. But because of the films, I now know how to pronounce it. He's Unka Noodles. Anyway, it's up here. What's your favourite rock and roll movie? I actually I was thinking about this last night. It's quite a good question. And it's like kind of hard to decide what a rock and roll movie is, because it's like, is rock and roll, is that Elvis? Is that like rock and roll? And so I don't know. But I've now lost a piece of paper. There it is. I wrote down a couple just out of interest. There we go. Yeah, so I think these are different categories within rock and roll music. But obviously Spinal Tap is awesome. If you've never seen Spinal Tap, then really, why are you here? Even better than just Spinal Tap is if you go to, I bought the DVD when it came out, when DVDs were new, and I had a commentary on it with the guys. Basically it's having another film. So the guys are all in character. And I only really found out a couple of months ago or 6 months ago that it was all improvised, the whole thing. So what the 3 guys in the band did, they went on tour with other bands and they would just talk about this band that they were in, and they would make up stories and stuff about what happened in the band. So when they were actually getting interviewed in the film, there's not rehearsed. The interviewers just got some questions to ask them, so because they've already sort of discussed all these things, they're kind of making stuff up. That's why it goes up here. Yeah, his name was Stumpy Willie, and it's like, oh no, and then they're kind of arguing and just kind of working as a team sort of thing. It's really impressive. So it's Spinal Tap, and even I can't. Well, if I had a better definition, my soft tech amp does the two knobs do go to 11. That was when I was like 18. I bought myself an amp and I electrosetted the knobs to go to 11 because it's one louder. Yeah, so if you've never seen Spinal Tap, it's well worth watching. It gets sort of much funnier, I think, when you kind of know the bands that they're taking the piss out of, because I think quite a lot of bands were not upset about it, but they were just like kind of, that's us, because they were Saxon specifically, or they went on tour with Saxon. They're like these American guys, and like, who are these American guys? Or some film guy. Okay, and then some of the things that happen in Spinal Tap, it's like when Nigel falls over when he's playing the guitar and a roadie picks him up. Apparently that actually happened to the guitarist in Saxon. And he's like, he came out and slipped, like because he was playing the intro to the I think it was the whole gig. Playing the intro to the whole gig. He couldn't stop playing the guitar, so he was kind of lying on his back, still playing the intro. Yeah, and he had to get through like 8 bars before everyone else came in, and he was just lying down because he slipped. I don't know if he had the roadie actually picking him up, but I mean, there's so many good bits in it. It's like, it's awesome. So that's probably my best rock and roll movie, I think. Other ones which are coming in there is like Elvis, That's the Way It Is, which is a sort of I think the original film is a bit more of a film. It's a bit more sort of documentary with a couple of songs in it, whereas by the time it came out in DVD, it's kind of got all the documentary bit on it, and it's got like a whole concert on it. And if you've never really understood Elvis, why he's a guy, even if you don't like the music, which I don't really think is possible if you listen to this one, I think it's about 1970 when he's absolutely at his prime. He does have the white suit and he's doing the karate kicks and stuff, but he's got the amazing band with Jerry Sheff and Ronnie Tutt and James Burton in it, and the band are just amazing. That bass player, Jerry Sheff, it's like when you listen to it, he's got like sort of choir, bits of orchestra, a few guitarists on this, and you can just hear the bass all the time, giving it bum 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 bum, and you can always hear the bass player. So it's like totally Jerry Sheff, and he's also Jerry Sheff also played the bass on the LA Woman album. And when I saw the Doors, can't remember what they were actually called though. Was it the 21st Century Doors or Riders on the Storm or something they were called in Glasgow? In the Armadillo, they had Ian Astbury, who's a singer from The Cult, and it was Krieger, Manzarek, and I don't know who the drummer was, and Jerry Sheff came on and played bass for LA Women, and it was amazing. It was an amazing gig, fantastic. Ian Astbury just like, it's quite surreal coming out, and especially one point was like, Peter, hey Glasgow's at Bucky for the Neds, and you're like, this is the Doors? What's going on? Because he had the right hair. He was totally in character, and I think he was, to be honest, pissed. I think maybe he got sacked after that because he was just like, look, yes, you're here to sing and be like Jim Morrison in this Doors band. You don't need to get pure pissed before you come on stage, though. You don't need to be that method with it. It was hilarious. It was one, I remember him sitting. I could probably just talk about that gig on it. It was one of the best gigs I've ever been to. Partly because I'd seen them a couple of years before. I don't know, or I don't even know if he was a singer in the SECC, and it wasn't really that good. So I ended up just going to this one just to get pissed, and it was in like a wee tiny, in the Armadillo, which is not that tiny, but the stage setup was nothing. They were kind of all in the middle. It was like a 60s TV show, so you had like a bass amp and a guitar amp, a drum kit that had about 4 drums, and then just like an organ, and they were all just in the middle, and it was just space all the way around them, and it was like they were just absolutely kicking ass the whole time. I remember there was a song up here, Ian Astbury, he was like doing like the whole crowd thing, chatting about Glasgow and all that, and it was a song up here, yeah, this is a song we've not done before, so I've been handed lyrics for it. I don't need the words for this. He just ripped the paper up and it was People Are Strange, because everybody knows how to sing that, obviously. I don't think that was part of the stage show. I think that was just it. I might end up talking about this gig quite a lot. Maybe it was awfully good. Manzarek was hilarious. He was up here. Yes, it's great to be here in Scotland. So up here we were playing. Yesterday we were playing golf. A Scottish game, and then they're drinking whiskey. A Scottish drink, and he was doing all that. It was hilarious. And at the end, they kind of they overran for whatever it was, and then the lights came on, and Jim Morrison or Ian Astbury was up here. Hey man, what are you doing, Mr. Lightman? Like they did in the film, whatever, the Hollywood Bowl, is it? But what's going on? Is that we can't stop? This is the fucking Doors. That's, you know, we've not even played the end yet. You know, it's like they're sitting there or light my fire or whatever it was. So basically, the whole place had shut down. All the security staff had gone home, and the band were still playing. And then there was a bit where in the last song, it's like, up here, everyone come down to the front. And I was like, up here, saw the people. We were up the top. But everyone put down to the front, and then it was you just heard Magic up here. They're not on the stage, man. And it was like a guy who'd ran up on stage, and he went up to Krieger, and Krieger just crumpled into a ball like that. And you could see this guy just he was kind of run up to, he was going to go and hug him, and you could see him just going, whoa, pure shit. It was like I was only going to hug you. I'm not an attacker and stuff like that. Brilliant. And then at the end of the gig, when we went out, it was like the whole place was shut down, all the lights were off, and there was like one security guard standing at the door like that, just telling everyone to get out, and then so we could close it off and go home. Fantastic. Yes, so that was that. I got that from Elvis. That still hit us somehow. Yeah, but if you don't understand why Elvis, it's because of the bass player. But if you don't understand why Elvis is the king and how, you know, it just I don't see anything Elvis. Watch that, and honestly, within 10 minutes, see when he's at the start, he's arriving at the whatever rehearsal studio it is, and he's wearing the most amazing shirt and the sunglasses. And it's just this absolute swagger this guy's got is unbelievable. Like within 10 minutes you're just like, oh man, he is so cool. And then when he's doing the gig, he's just so on top of it, and you're just like whether you end up being an Elvis fan, you totally understand why. Going through other the films, Pink Floyd at Pompeii. Not sure it's a film as such. I think it probably came out in cinema. But it's amazing. I never liked Pink Floyd. I didn't understand Dark Side of the Moon, and Wish You Were Here. My pals used to put on. It was like, and then someone taped this video off the telly, and it was just like, whoa! It's just epic. One of these days, and it's the best Pink Floyd ever. I mean, I think this was maybe around about the time of when I saw Pulse for the first time. That'd be about maybe late 90s, maybe mid 90s. This Pompeii one's from like 1972, something like that. But wow, it's amazing. And if you can get the original one that doesn't have the talk, there's like wee bits of them sort of in the studio and talking between the songs, which totally cuts it up. You just want it to run as the original feature length thing with echoes and one of these days. Fantastic. Moving on, Tommy by The Who. It's mind-bendingly good. It's really cheesy and silly and funny, and it takes a wee while to get going. Sort of the start, but you know, the second time you'll enjoy the start of the film. But once you get to when he smashes the mirror, it's pure surreal. There's a bit where Anne Margaret, her name is, rolling about in baked beans and stuff like that, and it's like, this is kind of weird. But it starts pumping. It's amazing. It's got some of the best synthesizer work I've ever heard in anything, and the amount of heaviness it's got is ridiculous. Absolutely epic film. Tommy, just watch Tommy. Brilliant. The other ones I wrote down Flash Gordon as well, because although it's not really a rock and roll film in any way, it's got Queen all the way through it, and the film's just amazing. So it's kind of like a double dunter for me. It's a super cheesy, amazing, funny, but still violent, still good. But it's got Flash in it and all the pure ridiculousness that goes with it. It's just immense. And then the sort of not boring ones, but School of Rock, Wayne's World, and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. It's like, you can't. I don't know if Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey is really a rock and roll film. It's got music references in it, but I just put it in because I liked it. I watched Bill and Ted Face the Music the other night and really enjoyed it. Be excellent to everyone. You know, it's like these are sort of messages that I can get behind. I wish more folk would chant that sort of stuff rather than racist hatred. You know, just like be excellent to everyone. yes, something you can actually get behind. And School of Rock, I actually got a phone call from a guy I used to teach guitar to. It's like, have you seen the film School of Rock? And I was like, yeah. He's like, Jack Black stole that off you, because I used to teach guitar, and basically what I was doing teaching guitar was exactly like what Jack Black was doing, exactly the same thing, right down to having a wee mini amp on my belt and making them play songs and stuff like that. So I've kind of you get sick of Jack Black though. I actually saw him Tenacious D in Edinburgh, and there's only so much Jack Black you can take. But if you know, that film is his best one, and Wayne's World, which it kind of turned into a little bit. It's like there's quite a few things that kind of work that way. Like having my cable TV channel, living in my mum's attic, and even down playing a Washburn guitar, and it's like having a gorgeous Asian girlfriend, and all these things. It's like pure. A lot of these things are quite true, and a bad haircut. Yeah, I know that, but they're good films. Yeah, so that was the best rock and roll films. I reckon they're the ones I could think of. Ones I wore the video out, especially like Pompeii, and That's the Way It Is, and Tommy. He just have them on a cycle. They're just amazing. Yeah, so what else has been happening? No, I've actually managed to talk for half an hour. I've not actually done anything. What guitars did I do this week? I had another Buckycaster, the one before strings on it. That's actually done a wee deal with a guitar shop in the Savoy Centre, which is pretty cool. It's like the guy's right into his punk rock stuff, so it's like I kind of don't know anything about it, unfortunately. It keeps dropping all these band names, and it's like, this album, and it's like, hey man, I was listening to Black Sabbath, and I wasn't about at that time. It's like he's maybe 10 years older than me or something like that, so he's kind of, in the 80s there was all this stuff, and it's like, when I was 18 or something like that, I didn't like 80s music. That was pure no, I didn't like any 80s music. It was only relatively recently, in the last 10 years, I've sort of got a little bit more expanded my mind a little bit. I kind of listen, I can handle stuff. Still not a huge punk fan or anything like punk. Yeah, so I'll have a wee look at the comments from this week. I should probably plan these things a little bit more, but nah. Oh, like and subscribe. I'm at where was the page? Where's dashboard? It's not there. There's channel dashboard. I'm at subs about 1292, so only 8 more subscriptions, and I've got 1300, which is like, yay, 1300. I remember doing videos for like when I got 100 subs, and videos when I got like 200 and 300 and 400. I remember being in China when I did the 400 one, which was totally awesome. It's like, been amazing. I totally don't know 400 people now. I'm at like nearly 1300. It's like, wow, it's quite humbling. It's great. So I'm just kind of keeping doing what I'm doing, really. I keep talking to people, and they're like, I should maybe start editing and putting in flashy stuff. And but that's not. Lots of people do that, and that's not enough of people just basically, hey, come and listen to me talk for a bit. It's like if you were here and didn't have to talk, that's what I'm doing, which is actually quite good. It's like when I'm on a roll talking, you get somebody, you're going to interject your wee stories, and you're alright, so I've got to listen. So this way I just get to, it takes half the amount of time, because I can just, and I don't go off track as often as I would. Not that I don't like listening to people, you know what I mean. So I was looking at the page with comments. Matt Rayner's been giving me some abuse. Someone talking about the Bronco bass, talking about leaving it stock. Bronco bass is like basically a Music Master bass or a Mustang bass, and it's got like one single coil pickup in it, and it's very common for people to put a hot reel in there, and I didn't, although I did actually have one that already had a hot reel in it, and it really, I don't think it's worth it. I found that the actual single coil pickup sounds really good on its own, perfect for what I do. Maybe it's different if you're doing other types of music, but for what I would play, I'm quite happy with that. I've not actually tried that in the. Not someone after a. Would you recommend the Ibanez Sound Gear bass for beginners? Yes, I would. It was a great bass. It was ugly. personally it wasn't my taste. I would much rather have, basses are funny things. There's not a million bass shapes that I really like. I like the P bass, I like that one and that one. I quite like the blue, which is kind of like a P bass. These are sort of obscure ones, not the common ones. I really like this one. This one's really good actually. If you look, it's kind of it's the same range as that guitar. This one I really like, and I suppose to a certain extent the Rickenbacker shape. But there's an awful lot of ones basically exactly like that Ibanez, which are kind of, they're not distinct enough. They've got a bit of a sort of melted sweetie type thing going on about them, and it's just kind of like, what shape is it? It's you can't really describe it. Not really my thing. Obviously, you get BC Rich bass. The wave bass I quite fancy, an NJ series wave bass. That shape I maybe quite like that. But I mean, apart from sound wise, Ibanez, I think if you're talking about buying a cheap guitar, you know, a sort of £150-200 guitar, basically Ibanez and Yamaha do the best guitars, but they don't look like a Strat or a Tele. They've got they're trying to do their own sort of thing. I mean, just going by actual, is it how good a guitar is it, and they're miles better than the equivalent Epiphones and Squires. You know, they are miles better. Like a £200 Yamaha versus a £200 Epiphone or Squire, it's like, it'll absolutely blow it out the water. But it doesn't have the look, and I do appreciate that it is important. If you've got a guitar you don't like the look of, you don't enjoy it, and you don't play it as well, and you can't play it. My first guitar was a broken Strat that didn't work, but the second one was a Yamaha RGX, which looks like a Ibanez RG. I put an X on the end, so it's basically that sort of thing. And you know, I'm Black Sabbath and the Stones and the Beatles and stuff, and playing an Ibanez Gem, you're just like, I hated it. Even though I'm sure it was a really good guitar, and I'd probably quite like it now. Even though maybe not a big fan of Super Strats. Do I have any Super Strats? Maybe, sort of. Not really. I've got like an Aria Pro rock device, which is, I would argue, is a Super Strat, and I've got a Washburn with a crazy splatter paint job that's a Super Strat. They're just not really my thing. I think maybe just because of when I grew up, you know, when I started listening to music and stuff, it was sort of mid-90s, and they were super unpopular. I've never played something like this back then either. Oh, I've been zooming in without meaning it. How to do that? What am I doing? Right. Reset. That's what I want. Yeah, no, I can't see it. Yeah, oh, and it's like I got a girl commented. It's like, if you look at quite funny looking up the analytics. Something like 0.4% female. It's like, I obviously attract the men, not the women. Which I've been winding up my girlfriend about that. But Patty Dixon, you think, oh, I wonder who Patty Dixon is, and she's like, you know, her profile picture, she's in a bra, and then all her pals are like, this is obviously some sort of scam thing. I just left it on because I thought it was quite amusing. So there's one of my a female comment, and it's just some porn line scam thing. Get quite a lot of scam things. Once you hit 1,000 subs on YouTube, you start getting these things coming through. I just left it up because I thought it was amusing. A guy talking about the BC Riches, and he was like, I wonder if you'd maybe watching this. Hello, what's his name? Hoy, oh God, I can't read that either. Hohenheim. Hello. Someone picking up a red Spectrum 2. Not really sure what a Spectrum 2 is, but I know that my blue one there's a Spectrum 3. So it's kind of like it's like a Thunder shape, but a Strat type West Tone Thunder. Like a Thunder's got like a 3-a-side headstock. This has got like a pointy headstock. In fact, so can I even reach it without pulling anything else out with it? It's like there's in attached to it. There isn't. Yeah, so that's a Spectrum 3, which I bought basically because of the colour. So I think a Spectrum 2 is probably this, but with two humbuckers. That would make sense to me. This only lasted for 1 year, 1984, and then by 1985 there was a Spectrum range, which had lots of different models in it. But the Spectrum was, if in 1984 when it started, was just one or just two guitars. This one and the Spectrum 2, and this one, the year in 1983, you could get pretty much exactly this guitar, and it was called a Concorde 3, but it didn't have This one's got push-pull pots instead of switches because that's when Westone got push-pull pots and black hardware, but ultimately the same, a different paint job, but the same layout. That's a really good guitar. I should play that more often. Oh, T-Gun, how's it going? My pals T-Gun, I've done actually fixed quite a few of his guitars. Now I finally understand coil taps. The coil taps, it was an Ibanez Blazer I got from that Blitzkrieg shop. Blitzkrieg shop. It was just in to get a setup, and I was telling the guys, oh, that's the one with coil taps, and you could see the guy, which happens quite a lot when I'm talking. Whenever I start describing pickup wiring, I'm not good at describing it. I need to really sit down and try and work out how I'm going to try and make it not sound dead difficult, because it isn't difficult. I mean, guitar wiring is super simple. You know, it really is. You know, a guitar pickup is just like a magnet with a wire wrapped around it, and if you take the two ends of that wire and stick them onto your jack socket, voila, electric guitar. All you do with that is then you put a variable resistor in to make the volume work, and then you just add bits on. It's really, really simple. It's not really electronics. That's why I can do all these mad things. I don't understand. Maybe it's purely the explaining it thing is why nobody does these things. I mean, surely people have thought of this before. I mean, I've thought up a switch for this guitar here, a Strat. I did an Affinity Strat I've actually got for sale just now that I'd invented a switch for. This one's got another type of switch in it. So this one has, in the middle position, it's just a Strat. If you push it down, it adds in the bridge pickup, so you can get the outside to like a Gilmore switch. And if you put it the other way, it wires these two as a humbucker, so you get like an extra 4 sounds, so it's like a 9 sound thing with just one 3-way switch. The one thing that's let me down on that is I can't, the 3-way switch, it needs to be an on switch, not an on-off switch, which I had a couple of them, because I remember actually they were in this guitar before I took them out, because you needed that to do the series parallel coil tap switches, and they weren't that expensive. I can't find them now. Normally with switches, I can buy a bag of switches for, and they work out so under £1 each. If you buy a bag of switches, get them from China, you know what I mean? It was like 15 quid for 20, something like that. And that's for 2-ways and on-off-on switches. So I've been trying to find that for the on-on-ons, and I just can't find them anywhere. The only ones I can find is Josie Warman's got them, but they're like $4.50 each, and it's like, I don't want to spend $4.50 on a switch if I can, if I could get a bag of them for they're £1 each. So if anyone knows where I can get on switches, which are always going to be useful. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. And obviously the other things are sticking extra pickups in and stuff. It's like, maybe it's just because people are scared off. It's like if you've got too much going on, it's too much. I certainly know that a lot of people have the BC Rich, the one that's got the many switches on it, and they don't know what they do. You know, it's like it's dead hard to tell. Even like a coil split's not too bad, but other ones, and you flip the switch, it doesn't seem to do anything. Also, it's not working, and it's like, no, it's because for example, if it's a phase switch and you're only on one pickup, if you say you've got a phase switch between these two, and you're only on the neck pickup, the phase switch doesn't do anything. You have to have both pickups on for the phase switch to do something, and the same goes for like a coil split. I mean, you could be, if you're on the neck pickup and you're flipping the switch that splits the bridge pickup, it's not doing anything because you're not listening to it. So it's you've got to kind of know what it is they do before you can actually use them, rather than just going, I'll just see what happens when I hit it. Some switches are different from that. So my main thing about trying to do switches just now is to try and make them relatively simple, rather than having lots of them. I mean that the Buckycaster that they had, and I think he's actually sold it. Before I'd actually heard about it, people were sending this message going, there's a guitar shop in town that's got a Buckycaster in it. I got like a few folks sent me messages. I was like, all right, aye. I didn't sell it to him. I sold it and then it moved on. This was a couple of years ago, and looking at it, it was like it was an HSS and it had 3 mini switches, and it was like just looking at it, I have absolutely no idea what those switches do. That's why any video I've got that's got switches in it, I always say at the start, it's like, you're right, this guitar, It's like, so volume for overall volume, 3-way switch between these two, and this is the volume control for middle pickup. That's so I can remember. You know, it's like, so if anyone asks me, what does this do? And it's like, right, check the video out. That'll say at the start. I'll try and explain, and then I'll rabbit on for ages, making it sound much more complicated than it is. Fun. Yeah, what else are we talking about? Should get sponsorship from the Arts Commission? Yep, well, please do it. The Mighty V has been talking to me quite a bit. Love vintage Ibanez stuff. Custom made, yes. It does say custom made on it. Padraig Floyd, he's a cool guy as well. I like the face switch, although most don't seem to. Face switch is a funny one. It's kind of, you know, maybe it's a wee bit like what the baritone is. It's like I don't know how often you'd use it, but having it there means you've got the option to use it if you want to, even if you never really did. I mean, that's kind of, I've got quite a few guitars like that. I do use the coil splits quite a lot if I've got a guitar with coil splits to get the sort of single coily sound, but really phase and other sort of things like that kind of, you don't need to use it, but it's a bit of a thin sort of playing around the end of a phone line type sound, and it's like my way of justifying is if you're trying to build up loops on the loop pedal, or you're recording, it is sometimes really useful to have a really thin sound. If you've got a phase switch, try playing Rolling Stones, Jumpin' Jack Flash and Sympathy for the Devil, the solos in that, because that's how you get that unbelievably thin wiry sound. I don't know what kind of guitar Keith was using, or whether it was Keith, but I mean, there's a lot of things that kind of, once you use it, you don't necessarily use it where you would expect to. It's more like, although it's really thin, it kind of sounds a bit shitty when you're just playing on your own. When you've got like a whole band playing, or you've got bass, it just leaves much more room and makes it stick out an awful lot more. Phase switches are pretty good. I can basically put a phase switch in any guitar that's got more than one pickup. It's really useful in a Les Paul or an SG where you've got two volume controls. So instead, it gives you, because obviously when you get two humbuckers, you've got like your, you know, rock fat humbuckery sounds. The phase switch kind of, especially if you've got a volume control for each one, you can sort of have it slightly, you know, fully out of phase, or you can roll one of them down and it's less phasey, and you end up with more acousticy, more single coily type sounds. It's also quite good because it means you don't need to have the extra wires in the pickup, which I've now got around anyway, because I take pickups to bits and add the extra wires in myself if it doesn't have them. It's just dead difficult if you've got metal covers on. Also, when you reverse phase a pickup, like a Gibson pickup that's got the metal cover on it, you make the cover live. So if you touch the cover, it's like touching the tip of your, you know, it's like that. So you still have to break it at the pickup and then add in an extra wire to make, so you can separately earth or ground the cover. Yeah, I've started doing a list of switches, like on eBay, because I'm going to, or on Facebook. I'm going to call it Switch Sunday. I think I've maybe done about 4. So I'm like, any guitar I've got out that's got some different type of switch, so I'm going to kind of put up a sort of price list and what sort of guitar it's suitable for, and a wee 2 or 3 minute video of me just saying, this is what a coil split does, this is what a phase switch does, this is what, and then you get onto the sort of silly ones like the one I put in that, and the one I put in that, I decided I was going to call the one I put in that Affinity Strat, it's an HSS, and it gives you an extra 5 sounds, 11 sounds that does. So it's an HSS, but you've got like a coil choice switch on the neck bridge pickup, and also it puts on, you can get the Gilmore thing where you get the outside coils and you can get all 3 pickups on just from one 3-way switch, and if you've got it in the middle, it's off, and I really like that as a thing. That, or when you've got the in the middle position is off, so you always know when it's off, because if you've just got a lever switch, you don't know which is on and which is off, so you have to kind of guess. That's also why I like using push-pull pots sometimes, because, and also the fact that they're completely hidden. So it's like, you know, you're sitting there going like, pure, well, oh, I don't need all those extra switches. Well, if you've got like on a push-pull pot, you don't need to know it's there, just don't use it. That's fine, you know. I actually did that with my pal Craig. He bought a Hondo Les Paul, and the volume control had seized up. So he's like, can you change the volume control, and I was like, I want to put lots of switches in it, and he was like, no, just change the volume control. So I put in a push-pull pot with a phase switch on it, didn't I? And then told him about it about 3 days later. I was like, how are you getting on with the guitar? Oh, it's great, and stuff like that. Have you tried pulling the volume control out? And he's like, oh. And ended up did liking it. But if you with the push-pull pots, as long as the normal state is when it's pushed in, you don't need to use it, but it's nice when it's there. I like doing that in a Telecaster as well to get the. Oh, I need to name the Telecaster switch as well. I've got a switch I like putting in that's got you put it on the tone control or the volume control. You pull it up and it knocks the two pickups into series, so you get like a big fat humbuckery sounds. But if you got it in a push pull, you've just got a standard telly. Leo did well. The telly's great. You don't want to alter that, but if you've got the extra option, always good in case there's somebody decides you're going to play a Sabbath song. It's like, right, here we go. Black F90 talking about the PV Raptor Plus EXP. I've actually still got that. Didn't get it back to the shop. I think I'm going to iron brew it or bucket. That was a surprisingly good guitar. It was like it needed a bit of setup, but it was fine. Quite a good guitar. I think as a beginner thing, it suffers greatly from being really, really, really bland to look at. But the same thing, you get that with the Yamaha. I was raving about one of my bigger hitting videos. Is it the ERG 121? And it's like, it's brilliant guitar. It's fantastic. It's just really boring looking. It's just like a black Ibanez RG type thing, and it's lacking that oomph to make you go out and play it. I mean, I can imagine something like this. If this appeals to you, you're going to absolutely love this guitar. I mean, it is a really good guitar anyway, but just the fact that it's got like a really silly zebra on it, and it's got the spikes and all that. There's an awful lot to be said. I mean, even if it's subconscious, the sort of placebo effect. I'm very, very much suffer from that. I know it. It's like something like that. The Vulture there, I really love that already. So I kind of, even before I played it, it was like, oh, this is going to be amazing. This is going to be amazing. And then it turned out it was amazing. But it was kind of always going to be. And also why I love that, my favourite guitar, that 8-string bass, which I need to take into the studio sometime. I tried tuning it down to C sharp for Sabbath, thinking I could absolutely blow the socks off everyone, but the octave strings don't really like going that low. It's like there's not enough tension in them to take the C sharp, unfortunately. So I can't really use it. So I was thinking that would be quite cool, because that would give me, before I was playing in normal tuning with the Sabbath stuff, so I was like in danger of being on the same octave as some of the lower guitar stuff. They weren't very far apart, so when you're C sharp, you're down lower. The downside of that is, though, it's made the guitarist's guitar sound not nearly as beefy, because he doesn't have me playing the same note. I'm now down here, and he's now here, and his guitar's not as ballsy because it doesn't have the extra bass that I was putting in. So if I tuned that down to C sharp, I would be playing the octave he's on and the lower octave. But I'll maybe have a wee look at it. I think I'm probably almost about giving up on this, I think. Someone talking about the Korg bass pedal. It's actually really good for what I use it for, which is I hate multi-effects. I basically use it as a bass fuzz and a volume control. I think it's not there, but the box for it is. There is another set of strings, yay! So I do have another set of strings left. That I picked them up for buttons now. I don't know, maybe quite old. So actually I noticed it was made in Japan, reading the edge of the box. So it's like, it's Japanese, so that's fine. I don't know when that's from 2000s or something like that. But I mean, I think I paid 30 quid for that, or something like that. And it was really one of those things that I need. Black Sabbath NIB's got a wah wah intro, so I wanted to play that. So I was, lugging about a Crybaby, which is like basically just like having a brick, like a bit, the weight of a brick but slightly bigger in your gig bag. And I was taking a fuzz pedal, and I was taking a tuner, and I thought, buy that, which weighs nothing. That's got the tuner, it's got the fuzz pedal, and it's got the wah wah for one song. It's not, the wah wah's not as good as a Crybaby, but I mean, it's for the intro to one song, so it's good enough. Yeah. Buckycaster 31. Oh, the Buckycaster, the Buckfast Acoustic. That one, that was fun with the extra high string on the G. I call it a double G, so it's got two G strings, like a 12 string does. So you've got like a normal octave G string and then a high octave G string. Really good. I don't know why. Again, why don't you get that? It's great for, see, if you're playing rhythm guitar. It makes it doesn't really make it that much harder to play. Not like a 12 string, which is you need a big meat. You've always got like a big meaty neck. The strings are always seem dead close together, and it's it's pretty hard work. This one kind of gives you that extra note. The thing about a 12 string as well is like the B and the E strings are just doubled, so they're kind of more like a chorus sound you get, because they're not both exactly, they'll never both be exactly in tune, so it kind of sounds like a chorus pedal if you're playing in the B and the E strings, but whereas the other ones are all got the octave thing on it, which is nice. Yeah, I think that's good. That's now getting up to, well, I mean, these comments aren't necessarily just on the videos I did last week, back onto the octave strings on that bass, which I really love. There's a 4-string version of that on eBay right now that I'm not buying. I was even talking to my pal Michael in Denmark, the guy who actually got me that and my Washburn Hawk cheap, and he was like, talking about the stage series, and it's like, I really like an A20, which is kind of that but a guitar, so it's like through neck and it's got the brass inlays and all these things on it. Oh, I've hit an hour, I can stop. Yeah, see, these guitars aren't in tune because they've been sitting in the attic for ages. What happened was this morning I dug them out, gave them a tune, and then since they've been sitting all day, so they were whatever temperature they were at the attic, I've tuned them, and then now that they've settled to the temperature that's in here, they've all gone out. Basically, that's my excuse anyway for the guitar sounding shite. So BC Riches, 3 of them, 1, 2, 3. I should have had my aria arching, which kind of looks like a BC Rich, but is an aria. Rock on, and if you've not subscribed, please do, because I need 8 people, and then I'll get to 1300, and then I can I'll have a bottle of bucket to celebrate. Rock on, everyone!